Imagine a frail, sickly scientist whose greatest obsession was the most volatile and destructive force on Earth. This was Alfred Nobel. Born in Stockholm, Sweden, in 1833, his entire life was defined by two seemingly opposite forces: engineering and explosives. This was a passion he inherited from his father, Emmanuel Nobel, an inventor who moved the family to St. Petersburg, Russia, to run a factory manufacturing sea mines and torpedoes for the Tsar. While his father's business boomed during the Crimean War, young Alfred received a first-class private education. Largely self-taught, he became a brilliant chemist and a polyglot. Fluent in 5 languages by the age of 17. His travels and studies took him across Europe and to the United States, where he briefly worked with John Ericsson, the inventor of the ironclad warship. But Alfred's true fascination, his life's consuming passion, wasn't warships. It was something far more fundamental and far more dangerous. He dedicated his early career to stabilizing powerful chemicals, and his focus soon landed on a substance called nitroglycerin. Discovered in 1847, nitroglycerin was a liquid so incredibly volatile and explosive that simply handling it was like playing Russian roulette. It was notoriously unpredictable, prone to detonating from a simple jolt or a change in temperature. It was a chemical demon, beautiful in its potential power, but seemingly impossible to tame. Most scientists of the day saw it as a scientific curiosity, too hazardous for any practical use. But Alfred saw something different. He believed that if he could just harness its immense power, he could revolutionize the world. He envisioned it carving tunnels through impassable mountains, clearing paths for railroads that would connect nations, and blasting away rock to build the foundations of modern cities. He saw its potential for construction and industry, not just for warfare. This quest to control the uncontrollable would become the defining journey of his life, a journey marked by both incredible triumph and profound, personal tragedy. Nobel's pursuit of stable nitroglycerin wasn't just a scientific challenge. It was a deeply personal crusade, one that would exact a terrible price. In 1864, the family business had moved back to Sweden, and Alfred, along with his father and younger brother, Emil, were intensely experimenting at their factory in Hellenaborg. On a tragic day in September, a catastrophic explosion ripped through the facility. The blast was devastating, leveling the building and killing several people. Among them was Alfred's beloved 21-year-old brother, Emil. The tragedy was immense. It would have broken a lesser man. The Stockholm authorities, horrified by the event, banned any further experimentation with nitroglycerin within the city limits. His own father suffered a stroke shortly after, leaving him an invalid. But Alfred, galvanized by grief and an iron will, refused to abandon his quest. He saw his brother's death not as a reason to stop, but as a solemn duty to succeed, to make sure such a sacrifice was not in vain. He moved his experiments to a barge anchored on a lake, away from the city, continuing his dangerous work in isolation. For years, he tirelessly and obsessively tested different additives, searching for something that could absorb the nitroglycerin and render it stable without diminishing its explosive force. He tried sawdust, charcoal, brick dust. Nothing worked perfectly. Then, he found it. The breakthrough came from a porous, inert substance called kieselguhr, a type of sedimentary rock made from fossilized algae, also known as diatomaceous earth. When he mixed the volatile liquid nitroglycerin into this absorbent, clay-like material, it formed a paste. This paste was miraculously stable. It was safe to handle, safe to transport, and could be shaped into sticks. Most importantly, it wouldn't detonate without a specific blasting cap, another of Nobel's key inventions. He had finally tamed the beast. In 1867, he patented the invention, and he needed a name that captured its incredible force. The impact was immediate and global. Dynamite became the essential tool for the industrial expansion of the 19th century. It blasted the tunnels for the Goddard Railway through the Alps, dug the Corinth Canal in Greece, and cleared harbors and mines across the globe. It literally built the modern world. But as dynamite fueled progress, it also became a terrifying new engine for war. It made Nobel an incredibly wealthy man, but it also began to forge a dark reputation he could never escape. By the 1880s, Alfred Nobel was no longer just an inventor. He was a global industrialist, a magnate, presiding over an international empire of more than 90 factories and laboratories in over 20 countries. He held hundreds of patents, and his fortune was immense, built on the very power of dynamite. Yet, the man behind this empire was a complex and deeply conflicted soul. He was a recluse, a solitary figure, who never married and had few close friends. He called himself a misanthrope, but corresponded with some of the greatest thinkers of his time. He was a poet and a playwright who loved literature. And most paradoxically, despite building his empire on the materials of war, he was, at his core, a pacifist. He genuinely believed that the sheer destructive power of his inventions would make war so horrific that nations would be forced to abandon it altogether. He famously wrote, "My dynamite will sooner lead to peace than 1,000 world conventions. As soon as men will find that in one instant, whole armies can be utterly destroyed, they surely will abide by golden peace." He was, of course, tragically wrong. His moment of ultimate, horrifying revelation came in 1888. His brother, Ludwig, a successful oil industrialist in his own right, passed away in Cannes, France. By a twist of fate, a French newspaper confused the two brothers and mistakenly published Alfred's obituary instead. The headline was brutal and uncompromising. Le Marchand de la Mort est mort, the merchant of death is dead. Imagine reading your own death notice, only to find that this is how the world sees you. For Nobel, it was a profound and devastating shock. He had spent his life believing he was a benefactor to humanity, a man who had provided the tools for progress and construction. But in that moment, reading his own condemnation, he was confronted with a horrifying reality. His legacy was not one of building, but of destruction. The world would remember him only as the man who made mass killing easier. This premature obituary became the catalyst for his final and most world-changing act of creation. Haunted by the Merchant of Death label, Alfred Nobel became obsessed with rewriting his own epitaph. He was determined to use his vast fortune not just to clear his name, but to genuinely redirect his legacy toward the highest ideals of humanity. He spent the last years of his life meticulously planning the redemption of his name and his wealth. In 1895, a year before his death, he sat down at the Swedish-Norwegian club in Paris and drafted his final will. The document was astonishing and, at the time, deeply controversial. His family, who expected to inherit his fortune, was shocked to find they were left with almost nothing. Instead, Nobel stipulated that the vast majority of his immense wealth, over 31 million Swedish kronor, equivalent to hundreds of millions of dollars today, be placed into a fund. The interest from this fund was to be distributed annually in the form of prizes to those who, during the preceding year, shall have conferred the greatest benefit on mankind. He specified 5 fields: physics, chemistry, physiology or medicine, literature, and, most crucially, peace. The Peace Prize was to be awarded to the person who shall have done the most or the best work for fraternity between nations, for the abolition or reduction of standing armies, and for the holding and promotion of peace congresses. It was a revolutionary idea. He was taking the profits earned from a tool of immense destruction and dedicating them forever to celebrating science, creativity, and the pursuit of peace. When Alfred Nobel finally died of a stroke in 1896, his will sparked years of legal battles and skepticism. But his vision ultimately prevailed, and in 1901, the first Nobel Prizes were awarded. The world was left with a powerful, contradictory legacy. Here was a man who invented the deadliest explosive of his time, yet dedicated his entire fortune to honoring the best of human endeavor. He remains a powerful symbol of the complexity of scientific genius, a reminder that invention itself is neutral. It is the human application that gives it meaning. Alfred Nobel, the Merchant of Death, ultimately found his atonement by creating the world's most prestigious honor for those who bring light and hope to the world, proving that one's true legacy is not defined by what you create, but by the ultimate direction of your life's work. So, what do you think? Did the creation of the Nobel Prizes fully redeem Alfred Nobel's title as the Merchant of Death? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If this story of destruction and redemption fascinated you, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the figures who changed the world. Thanks for watching.